us on TV and Business Daily. I am Chiwendu Osisego, and today we shall be discussing on federal government's COVID-19 palliative, the matters arising. Consequent upon the lockdown announced by the federal government of Nigeria owing to the COVID-19 palliative, the federal government has equally commenced social investment program as palliative to caution advanced impact on poor families. Again, the federal government has recently said that it would employ digital means such as bank verification number to deploy financial assistance to those verified to have the balance of 5,000 naira in their account and recharge less than 100 naira or 200 naira. This seeks to be an improvement upon the manual used some weeks ago. Our guest is a former banker and financial consultant who will be joining us in discussing issues around the subject matter. But before we proceed with the discussion, let's look at the business updates for today. Stay with us. Despite the drop in crude oil price from $42.3 per barrel in February to $26.44 in March, the allocation to the 3 tiers of government rose by 199.36 billion naira from 581.56 billion naira shared in February to 780.92 billion naira in March. The allocation was made on Wednesday shortly after the Federation Allocation Committee meeting. The meeting was held through virtual conferences due to the lockdown in the country caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. A statement issued by the Office of Accountant General of the Federation said that the 780.92 billion naira was made up of statutory revenue of 597.67 billion naira, value-added tax of 120.26 billion naira, and exchange gain of 62.92 billion naira. Nigeria has stopped producing crude oil, but a persistent crash in oil prices may lead to a halt in production, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation has declared. On Tuesday, global oil price benchmark amid the demand collapse caused by reduced economic activities Brent, against which Nigeria's crude oil price fell by $6.34 to $19.23 per barrel. Nigeria recently slashed the oil price benchmark for its budget to $30 per barrel from $57 per barrel, but oil prices kept crashing since the outbreak of coronavirus as demand plunged. On whether Nigeria has stopped oil production due to the persistent price crash, the country's national oil firm said it had not. The Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, and the Association of Small Business Owners of Nigeria have warned that unless the federal government takes some measures to reposition the economy, tougher times await Nigerians. This warning came on the heels of the inflation rate increasing by 0.06% from February to 12.26% in March. They noted that Nigeria, being a mono economy relying only on oil, would definitely feel the shocks of any drop in the global price of the products as currently being witnessed. The depreciation in the exchange rate of Naira to $1, they added, was another cause for concern. The Director General LCCI, Dr. Muda Yusuf, said the increased inflation rate called for concerns as the prices of goods would affect in the coming months. Transaction on the Nigerian Stock Exchange on Wednesday returned to positive routes, reversing prior 2 days' negative sentiment. The key market performance measures, the NSE All-Share Index and market capitalization, rose by 0.66% to close the trading section positive as market sentiment returned to a gaining strike following gains recorded by NEM, Insurance PLC, and 18 other firms. Consequently, the all-share index gained 289.63 basic points, or 0.66%, to close at 22,780.30 as against 22,629.92 recorded the previous day, while the market capitalization of equities appreciated by 79 billion naira, or 0.66%, to close at 11.872 trillion naira from 11.793 trillion naira as the market sentiment returned to the green zone. Meanwhile, a total turnover of 186.22 million shares exchanged in 3,444 deals was recorded the day's trading. And that's the business update on Television Nigerian. I am Chiwendu Osisego, and now we shall be looking at the graphical representation of business stories making headlines. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. In case you're just joining us, it's TVN Business Daily. Like I said earlier, we shall be discussing on the federal government's COVID-19 palliative, the matters arising. My guest is in the studio. He is a former banker and a financial consultant. He is Mr. Emmanuel Adao. You're welcome to TVN Business.
Thank you very much.
And it's good to have you today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Okay, speaking on the COVID-19 palliative, the federal government is employing digital models, including the BVN, that's the bank verification numbers. So what's your take on this?
Thank you very much. I believe the decision to use the digital model is as a result of the complaints they received from various Nigerians over the manual system they've been using, the National Social Register. As you know, the poverty level in Nigeria is very high, and many people have been affected by the lockdown. There are many families that are finding it difficult to eat because they depend on daily businesses. But the problem they encounter is, how was this register generated? How was it populated in the first place? How did they get about it? Because people are complaining. There are many people, there are many areas they are not reaching. And they say they are dependent on the register. Who generated the register? For instance, if you look at the population census of the country, Nasarawa State, for instance, as of 2006, had about 1.8 million people, compared to Anambra with 4.1 million people. In the register, the Nasarawa with 1.8 million has about 8 million people in that register, while Anambra with the population of 4.1 has 1.3 million people in the register. So the question is, how was the poor people determined? What record? Is it people without bank account? Is it people without business? How did they come about it? So they want a more transparent method, and that's why the choice of the digital models we are taking. So to my own belief, I believe it's an improvement over the manual records that they've been using.
Okay, so you think it's a good one, it's a good startup, or you think it's a good move?
I believe it's a good move.
Okay.
Because take for instance, if you watch what happened in Buhari, where 20,000 naira was given to beneficiaries. They were giving 20,000 naira to beneficiaries. You discover that there was no register used. Nobody signed on anything, but people gathered and they were giving them 20,000 naira. So there was no record, nothing to monitor, and that is subject to abuse. But if they use the digital method, each person they pay will have record, at least in the banking system, and it can be verified. So I believe it's an improvement.
Okay, looking at the population of Nigeria now, we are highly populated.
Yeah.
So do you think the banks can actually, do they have the capacity for this arrangement?
Well, they do. We cannot say absolute, but it's an improvement. You see, if you look at it, there are many people, though Nigeria is still underbanked, so there are many people without bank account. That is a problem. But what we are looking at mainly is the transparency, because the other registers may have records of people that are non-existent. But if anybody has an account in the bank, you should be able to verify. But we still have a long way to go. But at least it's an improvement over the manual register.
Okay, talking about the palliative now, out of those that don't have bank accounts, what is their fate? Like, what do you advise the government to do?
Okay, there are people that don't have bank accounts. I believe that while we use the digital method, we should not completely rely on the digital methods. There are people today that are helping the government, like individuals, the churches, and other organizations. I think what the government can do is to rely on some institutions to identify people that are really finding it difficult to make the ends meet in this time. For instance, there are religious leaders, there are traditional rulers, and there are people like In the Senate, they complained. The House of Representatives complained that they are the one representing the people and they know where these people are. I think instead of getting a register that nobody knows the author as such, they can rely on those people and they can get back to them, especially people in the villages and in the rural areas.
Okay, before we go on the street of Abuja, do you think that these banks will actually cure any kind of challenge in the process of, distributing this money or palliative through BVN?
Over time, the Nigerian banks have improved in the electronic banking system. And I believe for that, they will be able to handle it. The only problem that I see there is how to identify the people that are really poor, how to identify them, because there are many complications as regards that. But if they are able to identify, I believe the payment will not be an issue.
So there's not going to be any other challenge except, poor people and all that. Is there more challenges, you think?
Of course, there are challenges. Many challenges. Yeah. For instance, businesses are not running. For this period, many businesses are closed and their turnover virtually will go down. Many people are downsizing. People are losing their jobs. So there are problems that they have, but government is coming to, government is solving such problems through other means, not just the palliatives. For instance, the 50 billion naira CBN COVID-19 fund is meant for households and it's meant for small businesses that are having problems this time. For instance, for the household, you can get up to between 1 to 3 million, depending on what you have lost. And for businesses, they are divided into two segments. The first segment, 5 million to 10 million, and the second segment, up to 25 million. Okay. So with that, I think the government is bringing out things that will solve such problems, but there are problems.
Okay, now let's go to the street of Abuja to get the views of Nigerians on what they think of this palliative from the federal government. So stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Following the federal government extension of the lockdown for 2 weeks, the federal government announced the certain palliative would be given to citizens to help them during the period of the lockdown. One of the palliative is to credit the account of those that have less than 5,000 naira in their various accounts and those that recharge 100 naira on a daily basis. Now I'm on the streets of Abuja to get the views of individuals on how this will help them so far. Let's find out. Okay, the federal government announced that every account that is less than 5,000 naira will be credited. Did you hear anything about this?
Actually, for me, I didn't hear anything like that.
So what's your take?
It will be a good one now, because it will be better for them to credit those that have less money in their account. But it's not like crediting those that have less amount. But it also goes to everybody. Because if, for example, now I have like many people in my family, and I have less account and they have higher amount in their account, so you give only me, that they will be jealous, because they won't be happy. But if Buhari or maybe the president or the nation entirely want to share money, let them share money and let the money go around to everybody.
Well, it is right thing that the government has decided, but to my own view, first of all, I know that in the situation that we are locked down by this time around, people are in hardship, and the government are saying they will be credited people. When, how, which time?
Giving to those who have less than 5,000 naira is just a very little percentage of the society, and everybody who are affected, there are people that their income is just from their daily sales or daily whatever. So now, since you are at home, even if you have money, you are depleting the money. So you don't have opportunity to make more money. So everybody is affected. So if I have my way, I will have advised the government to just give to as many people as they can reach.
Thanks for staying with us. And in case you're just joining us, it's TV and Business. And like I said earlier, we've been discussing on federal government COVID-19 palliative, no matter the rising. And my guest is here. He is a former banker and a financial consultant. Okay, listening to what Nigerians got to say, what do you have to say? Most of them are complaining that the idea wasn't a good one, and some were like it's a good one, but they are yet to receive the palliative.
Okay, as for the idea, like I say, it's an improvement over the manual one. But there are issues, there are questions. For instance, the 5,000 naira balance they are talking about, it's not just that somebody has 5,000 naira, it's a poor person. You see, balances in bank accounts are still pictures of dynamic processes. What I mean by that is, the balance you have in the account today should not tell the picture of who you are, because it can go up the next minute and it can come down. So what I expect them to do is to have a range, a time. For instance, if you want to get a loan in a bank, they don't look for your balance, they look for the flow, the cash flow. Maybe for a period of 3 months, for a period of 6 months, how much has gone through this person's account. Because somebody may have 10,000 in his account today, and that 10,000 would have been there for the past 1 year. But by this 5,000 limit, he's excluded. And somebody may have 5,000 today, but for the previous months, he must have been having millions of naira. And because it is 5,000 in his bank account as a balance, he is picked. So I believe that is the problem that is there.
Okay.
Yes.
So for how long do you think the banks can actually use, to pay this palliative Vivian? Can you just think about how long, like the period of time?
This thing is digital. It doesn't take time to do it. Less than how many days you can determine who falls into this category, even if you take a time limit to assess it. It is very, very simple to do. And then the moment you get the list from that exercise, the money can be paid. It's just like doing bulk payments, in salary payment, in contract payments, and other things that the Nigerian banks are already used to. Each bank today has a software which they use, and it is very, very easy.
So in terms of transparency and accountability, do you see this system guaranteeing it?
Transparency, in a way, it does. How? Because the payments being made, the records are kept. But in other areas, it may not guarantee it. Take, for instance, who determines the person that is poor using the BVN? And like I said earlier, picking a balance is not justifiable, because somebody may have less than 5,000 but is a rich man, and somebody may have 6,000 but is a poor man. So that transparency is not there. Then, in doing this also, there should be a structure. Who selects the people? Who verifies it? Who approves it? These are things that should be in place. Where you have just a body identifying the beneficiaries and making the payments is subject to abuse. It can be abused. So these are the areas that transparency may be lost.
Okay, so that means you're saying that there are procedures in the banks?
Yeah, there are. In any payment system, there are procedures. If you are the one paying, you shouldn't be the one selecting people that are being paid. And if you are the one selecting people that are being paid, you shouldn't be the one giving their approval. So there should be necessary steps. And I think because this is absent, even in the manual system, that's why Nigerians were complaining, down to the level of parliamentarians. They were complaining that this thing is subject to abuse. So I believe the system should be in place.
Okay, thank you. So, as a former banker that you are, how much palliative do you think would be enough for a citizen? You know, for them that will be sufficient for them for a while.
You see, to every human being, I'm not sure any amount of money will be considered to be enough. But what I'm looking at is what the government is doing. I think household beyond the palliative, they should look at the 50 billion COVID-19 fund, supportive fund, which the CBN is giving. The palliative is very important, but that is just to solve immediate problem. But because of the problem, the economic problem that the COVID-19 has created in Nigeria and the world over, government has come with this 50 billion COVID-19 support fund for households and for businesses. This is a long-term, there's a 5% of interest rate for the first 1 year, and then thereafter 9%. Not only that, there's a moratorium. That is, you don't pay immediately until your business stabilizes. I think that is one thing that is very important, that will grow the business no matter what we are experiencing. It's a very nice step by the government, and people should embrace it. Many are looking at the palliative. Palliative is very important, but no matter how much they give in the palliative, it's like consumption money. But what will make you stand is that 50 billion. I think people should go for it.
All right, thank you. Okay, to your own personal understanding, how long do you think this COVID-19 will last in Nigeria?
Okay. As a business person, as a financial person, I'm also a spiritual person.
Yes.
And I believe that the mercy of God will take this COVID-19 away very, very quickly. You see, having said that, when you are planning, you plan for the worst, and then you expect the best. Let nobody look at it, let nobody have planned that in the next 1 month, in the next 2 months, the COVID-19 will be off. Make plans for the next 1, 2, 3 years. But it is our prayer that in the shortest of time, it will be all over.
Okay, because I feel that Nigeria will be going into another recession. So what do you think, like your advice to Nigerians out there, because definitely we are going into another recession?
Thank you very much. And when we are discussing, there was something that I also left out. That is the records we have, the statistics we have in this nation. Why people are complaining of the transparency of the palliative system is because we don't have standard statistics in this nation. For instance, when people die, nobody records it. When people lose job, nobody records it. Very few of it is recorded. And we don't know the number of people that are unemployed in Nigeria. There are many that are not recorded. You see, the truth is this. If a government has a very good statistics, they come up with plans. And I think this should be an eye-opener for Nigeria and for the rest of Africa, that we should get our statistics very, very serious. You see, there should be a legal framework. There should be some structures in place to get statistics and to make sure that people who violate certain things are punished. Because we can't continue like this. We don't have records. Every time we complain, records are not there. We need those records to plan. And I think the way they came up with the 50 billion I referred to, government again should come up with something. There is African Development Bank. They can source funds from there because of the COVID-19. And I believe also the World Bank will come to assistance. But the truth is, this money should not be distributed as we are talking of palliatives now, but it should be used for specific investment purposes in Nigeria. And when we do that, whether we go into recession or not, we'll be out of it clean, like other nations.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, final take to the viewers and of course to the federal government.
I think what I have to say as my final take is the president of this nation and also the state governors should own this program, the palliatives. It is not enough to earmark money or to give money to people and then you fold your hand, because this is a major problem in Nigeria and in the world. People are suffering and people are dying. So when money is given out, the buck stops at their table. They should be able to set up other bodies to monitor what is being given out. Very, very important. And secondly, in Abuja here, I want to talk of Abuja. When the federal government, the president of the nation, locked down Abuja, Lagos, he included Ogun State because of the proximity to Lagos. There's something happening here. The Karo local government area of Nasarawa State is almost part and parcel of Abuja. Majority of the dwellers, of the settlers there, or the people that are living in that place, have businesses, either as workers or artisans, traders in this place. But the focus mainly is on FCT, leaving that place. That place has close to about 40% of the population of FCT. Even if they solve the problem of COVID-19 in FCT and they forget that place and anything happens there, it will spill over to FCT easily, because we have the same church, we have the same market, we have the same school, we have the same offices. So they shouldn't ignore that place. That is my take.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Emmanuel, for coming on TV and Business.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's the much we have for you today on TV and Business. I'm Chiwendu Osisegu, and don't forget that you can follow us on all our social media platforms on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter at Television Nigeria.